Hey girls, this is Katie. I've got a new festive fall recipe for you. This is the kind of thing you can make when you have nothing else in the house or you think you have nothing to make for dinner. And you can make it all through the winter. It doesn't require a lot, and I'm going to show you two different ways to make it. So basically this is a pumpkin soup that I'm going to do sort of like a Thai curry version, and then you could also do a sort of traditional pumpkin pie kind of sweet version. Alright, here we go. Okay, so here's what we're working with. First off, you want pumpkin. If you have a fresh pumpkin, you want to make pumpkin puree. Brittany has a great video about that I'll put a link to. That's best, but if you don't have the time or you don't have fresh pumpkin, if it's later in the season, you can use canned pumpkin. Be sure to get 100% pure pumpkin. This does not have any spices in it. You don't want to get the pumpkin pie mix that already has spices because it's going to be weird for you. Okay. Onion. Normally I use a half an onion, but these onions are gigantic, so I'm just going to use a quarter. And I'm going to save my peels that I'm not using to make veggie stock later. Okay, and then we have different flavorings. I'm going to do curry. So curry comes different ways. I'm going to use curry powder today. It also comes in paste, but this can have MSG in it, so I'm not going to use that. Here's another type of paste. This one is green curry, and I think the color mixed with pumpkin would be really ugly, so I'm not going to use that. I would use red or a yellow curry for this recipe. You can use garlic if you want, if you're doing a curry. I think I'm going to leave it out this time. This is about 2 cups of veggie broth I made myself, slash veggie stock, whatever. Made it in my crock pot. And I just keep it in the freezer. Right now, some of the vegetable solids have separated out because it's just thawed, but it's not going to make a difference when it's all mixed together. And then you can choose to make the soup creamy if you want. So we have a few different options. I'm going to use coconut milk today to make my Thai version. You can also use evaporated milk or cream, half and half, fat-free milk, whatever you want. Or if you don't want it to be creamy at all, that's totally fine. Just use an extra cup of broth instead. You can also use veggie or, this isn't cottage cheese, guys. You can use veggie or chicken broth, depending on what you want. So to get started, we have a tablespoon of olive oil in my pan. And curry will stain, so be sure to use an apron. I've got one on now. And this spoon has already been stained, so don't use a utensil you wouldn't want to ruin. Alright, so we've got our stove on medium-low, and I put in our minced onion. You want it pretty small, just so you don't have like really big chunks, because this is going to be the only thing that's sort of floating in your soup, so if you have really big chunks, it's going to be kind of weird, and they'll stink. If you wanted to put in garlic, this is when you put in your garlic clove too. So we're just going to let it saute a little bit until it's, they're sort of translucent and golden. You don't want them to brown or burn. So just stir every once in a while and just let them cook a little bit. So about 3 minutes have passed. My onions are just about there. And I'm going to add my pumpkin puree. So this can has about 2 cups, and I'm going to use it all. I want it to cook with the onions so that it sort of caramelizes a little bit and the flavors develop. Okay, our pumpkin's in there, so we're just going to get it to combine and cook for maybe another 5 minutes or so, stirring often because you really don't want this to burn at all. But you want it to, like I said, just kind of come together and develop a sort of deeper flavor. Okay, while that's going, we can measure out our spices. So I'm going to do, I like spicy food. Mike and I both do. I'm going to start with a teaspoon of curry. I would just recommend starting small. So usually I use more than a teaspoon, but you can always add more and you can't take away. So start easy, see how it tastes, and you can always kick it up from there. If you wanted to use the pumpkin pie type spices, if you wanted to use pumpkin pie spices, I would recommend these. I would use about a half teaspoon of cinnamon and maybe a 1/4 teaspoon or less of ginger and maybe that amount of nutmeg too. You could also do cloves. Again, it's up to you. Okay, so now that the pumpkin has a little bit of time to mature, I'm going to add my curry. Again, starting with a teaspoon. Mix it in. You'll be able to smell it immediately. I love curry. I think it smells great. And it's a really warm smell, so I love it for fall and winter. Okay, so incorporate that. Give it another couple minutes to just come together a little bit. Then we're going to be adding our broth. Alright, 2 cups of veggie or chicken broth, whatever you have, into the pot. And just stir to get the lumps to disintegrate. Alright, so even over low heat, this heats up really fast. You just want to keep stirring, and at this point we're ready for our coconut milk. If you think this might be a little bit thick for you, you can cut it with water or more broth. And if you don't want the chunks, I actually like having the onions to kind of chew on, but if you don't, you can puree the soup at this point. No problem. Just return it to the pan, and then we're going to add 1 cup of coconut milk. Coconut milk can be really intense, so feel free to use fat-free. Not fat-free, I don't know if they make that, but they definitely make low fat. Or to use less than a cup if it's too much for you. I totally get that. Okay, and I also added more curry because that's what I like. Curry's a mix of spices, so if you want, you could do, 1 teaspoon of curry, and then if you just want it spicy, you could just add extra cayenne or, different flavors based on what you like. I really like tweaking recipes and just kind of winging it and seeing what tastes good and adjusting things based on my experience. So I tend to do recipes like that. I hope you don't find it confusing. I hope you find it that it gives you lots of options. So right now our soup is pretty much done. You can just let it simmer on really low, stirring every so often just so it doesn't burn. But you can also just serve it right now. The longer it simmers, the more the flavors are going to combine. But it's totally good to go. This whole recipe takes about 5 minutes. Maybe a few more minutes if you consider chopping onions and if you wanted to puree. But there you go, guys. That's dinner. So before you serve, if you want to add salt and pepper, now is a good time. This really tastes like something you would get in a restaurant, but you saw how easy it was and how flexible it is. Right. Just ladle into our bowl. It is so beautiful. It's like the most golden, perfect fall color. And because this is sort of a Thai version, I'm going to top mine with some fresh cilantro leaves. There we go. Hope you guys like it. Let me know. Happy fall.